What's going on, guys? Jake. We're back in for another YouTube video. We've been talking about the engine for the last couple videos. We're gonna work our way back to the chassis and talk about something that's commonly overlooked, I think. So we're gonna be talking about bracing your chassis for your power goals. So as some of you guys know, the 05 Foresters came with about 205 horsepower, I believe, something like that. So that's really all the chassis was made to handle from the factory. So when you're making the kind of power that I wanna make, it's very important that you consider doing some type of bracing. So we have a couple bracing parts I wanted to show you guys today, go over them and talk about how they work and how they might be beneficial if you're trying to make a little more power, how they could make your car a little more safe, all kinds of good stuff. So stay tuned, we'll get right into it. So you can see the car is kind of tore down right now, and we'll talk about the braces on the side here, but the first braces that I wanted to go over and the most common braces that I've seen are these strut tower braces. Now luckily I actually got this one with all the parts I bought from my importer when I bought the whole transmission swap. So he gave me this one, and I believe this is just like a Forester STI JDM strut tower brace. Now this isn't necessarily something that you would put on and then drive the car and feel, but it's definitely something that if you were ever in an accident, it would definitely lower the impact into the cab and stop the strut towers from folding inwards. So that's always really good. And also under high boost, when the engine's really trying to twist this frame, it's gonna stop those strut towers from flexing at all and keep everything right and tight. Now they do make a couple different options for this one, not just this style. There's a whole bunch of different ones on eBay and stuff like that. So be sure to consider a strut tower bar if you're trying to make a little more than stock power. I wouldn't say it's quite necessary until you get upwards of the 500 range, just because it's proven that these chassis can handle it. And honestly, not sure if you would have an issue making the kind of power I want to make, but it's better safe than sorry. So we're going to be running this one. I'm actually not going to install it fully today. You guys can see that I have the nuts still on the struts, and I just have this thing sitting on here. The reason behind that is because I'm going to get this thing powder coated so it looks really good and matches all the other engine parts. Now that we've gone over the front strut tower bar, we can talk about the fender bracing. There's a number of different companies that make a SG fender brace, which basically bolts here and here to kind of give the cab some structural rigidity to the fork that comes out and holds the whole front end and the fender as well. There's like Subtle Solutions, a couple other companies, but I ran across a fabrication company called Paranoid Fabrication. So here it is. This is the left side, driver side, whatever you want to call it, and you can see down here it's going to line up with those two. And actually it's pretty cool how these like stickers are over the threads. I haven't taken them off yet, but we'll take them off, and right under there you'll see that there's just fresh threads that have not been used that look like they should be being used, but they haven't. It's the same thing when you go to swap the 6-speed if it was an auto, and you just take these little covers off and there's perfect threads under there. Here's the brace, goes from right up there to those two over to those two, and it does fit behind the fender well area perfect. And you can, sometimes I've seen guys do this without taking the fender liner out. My fender liner is obviously out as well as my fender, but these things look like they're pretty well constructed, and they were the cheapest on the market. They were like 60 bucks or so, so really not bad. It's probably worthwhile to pick these up if you're trying to make some big power. So we did, and we're gonna go ahead and get these installed today. The only issue I'm seeing right now is that spot weld right there is kind of limiting how far forward I can get this bracket. So I think I'm gonna have to notch out the bracket a little bit to be able to slide it forward, because we don't want to damage that spot weld on the chassis, because that's probably pretty essential to the rigidity of the chassis. So we'll just have to notch out this bracket a little bit on the brace itself, and then we'll go ahead and bolt it up. And Paranoid Fabrications, I'll put everything in the description, but they give you all the bolts needed, a couple decals. So super happy with their stuff so far. It sucks that I have to notch that out a little bit, but the only thing I'm thinking is that maybe this spot weld is in a little different place on different chassis. So maybe mine is just a little more forward, and they did notch it out because I guess they know about that, but just not quite enough. So we will have to notch that out a little bit further, so keep that in mind if you guys are doing this. So that is about how far we're gonna have to notch it right there. Let's go ahead and mark that, get to grinding on it, and we'll get it done, put it on, so stay tuned. All right, so I got the driver's side fender brace on from Paranoid Fabrications. There was a couple issues with the fitment on this one. So you can see right here, I actually had to grind that. So if we look at the one that's supposed to go on the passenger side that I have not yet modified, you can see right here how it comes straight up and takes that sharp left. Well, it's the opposite on this side, but you can see I had to grind a little bit out because it was hitting the part of the structure on the actual frame. And then we got that ground, so we bolted this up, and then up here we had that spot weld like I showed you guys earlier, where the original piece is notched out for it, but it's just not quite notched out enough. So had to notch that out a little bit further so it would clear that spot weld, but now it's on and it's tight, so I like that. And besides that, pretty good product. So we're gonna go ahead and modify this passenger side one just like we did the driver side. We'll get it on, and then yeah, we'll show you guys, so stay tuned. So here's the driver side all finished up. All the bolts are right and tight. So now we can take a look at the passenger side, and we got this side looking good too. So basically I just had to grind out a little bit around here to make it go around that spot weld, and then around there to clear this little bend in the frame here. So that's not really too big of an issue. I imagine if you get a more expensive option, then you won't have to do that, but it's up to you. It only took about 10 minutes to grind out each little section. Super happy with these things and how they look. So this is gonna conclude the video for today. Definitely super happy with these from Paranoid Fabrications. I'll put their info in the description so you guys can check it out and maybe get yourself a pair. Like I said, it's possible to put these on with your fender still on and with the fender liner on. You just kind of have to fold it out of the way. It's a little harder to get to, but it's definitely possible. Yeah, we have a lot more bracing parts coming for the car, so be sure to stay tuned. We're gonna have to catch up with you guys in the next one because we don't have those pieces yet. We got a rear strut tower bar and a couple other pieces, like one for the transmission, and I'm thinking about some ultra racing ones for the front subframe. So yeah, definitely gonna brace this thing up really good before we actually get it running and get to pushing that kind of power, because we want the car to feel 100%. So if you like the video, make sure you drop a like, hit that subscribe button, and we'll be back for a new video soon, so stay tuned.